Hi, this is Dr. Paul from the USMLE Success Academy. Today we're going to discuss the relationship between thiazide diuretics and hyperglycemia. Now we all know that thiazide diuretic use can lead to things such as hyperglycemia, hyperlipidemia, hyperuricemia, and hypercalcemia. But it's important to understand the mechanism behind all this happening. So let's go into that right now. Under normal circumstances, we take in glucose, or the liver releases glucose. So as glucose levels increase, they're going to move to the pancreatic beta cell. Now there's a few things happening at the beta cell. Glucose moves in and we're going to increase our production of ATP. Now the more ATP we have, the greater the ratio of ATP to ADP we create. Now let's look over here at the ATP-dependent potassium channel. Potassium is brought into the cell, and the greater this ratio, the more potassium we have. And as potassium builds up, we get a greater positive charge. And what happens is we get depolarization. This depolarization is extremely important because it's going to signal to the voltage-gated calcium channel to allow calcium into the cell. Now when this happens, calcium levels increase and we get a subsequent series of events that leads to the stimulation of an insulin vesicle. So we have a vesicle with all these little insulin hormones within it. Now, as this calcium increases and this is stimulated, it's going to cause it to move to the cell's edge, to bind with it, and ultimately to exocytose that insulin into circulation. So as glucose levels rise, we get increased insulin. So as glucose rises, we get increased insulin, and as a result, what happens is we normalize our blood sugar. And this is the basic steps that are involved in insulin release. Now, when we take in a thiazide, something important happens. If we take a look at the kidney, we have our PCT, we have our loop, and we have our DCT. In the DCT, thiazide diuretics are going to block the sodium chloride symporter. This is really important because if we block the sodium chloride symporter, sodium levels in the body are going to decrease. Chloride levels in the body are going to decrease because they're not being reabsorbed. What happens as a result of this is a rebound mechanism. And this rebound mechanism has to do with aldosterone. Aldosterone is released whenever the body suspects that it's in a state of hypovolemia. Aldosterone, unfortunately, is going to lead to decreased levels of potassium because aldosterone moves to the collecting ducts and it's going to help reabsorb sodium, chloride, even water. So when it recognizes hypovolemia, that happens. Potassium levels drop as a result, and that's what's important here is that potassium levels drop. Therefore, we still get this process happening here. However, we don't get this process happening here. No longer do we have enough potassium to support cellular depolarization. So depolarization can't occur. There's no signal to the voltage-gated calcium channel, so calcium levels in the cell don't increase. As a result, there's no stimulation of an insulin vesicle, and subsequently, there's no insulin released into circulation. So as glucose levels continue to rise, there's nothing out there signaling it to be taken up by cells. Therefore, we get hyperglycemia. And that's the mechanism behind the relationship of thiazides and hyperglycemia.